Hi, I'm Richard. We're at the Open Air Blues Festival in Brezoi. I'm with Ben Poole from the UK. What's your poison, mate?
I'm a cheap date, Jack Daniels.
Blues Matters magazine chose you to be Best Newcomer in 2012. How was that? How did that?
Yeah, I guess a lot
you?
of things happened around that 2011, 2012 point when I was first starting out, and I was only 20, 21 kind of thing. So, I got a few little of those little like accolades, I guess, and got some nice opportunities on the back of being recognised by some magazines and things like that. Yeah.
And you played at the Royal Albert Hall in 2014. You recorded a live album there, but I understand that wasn't really planned.
Yeah, that's right. So it was recorded by the BBC to be broadcast live on the Paul Jones show, and they played 2 or 3 songs from that, and then it sounded great. So we managed to get hold of the entire show, and I was just going through the process of signing to Manhattan Records at the time, and it just seemed like I guess it was like an easy way of getting something out really fast, and it sounded great, and it's like a nice introduction, like a decent live album, nice introduction for people to me, when I got signed, and it was like bringing my name to a much bigger audience, and it just sounded really cool, and obviously having the name, anything where you got the Royal Albert Hall on live at the Royal Albert Hall, it sounds great anyway. So that was a nice first album to put out, unexpected but cool.
Why did you choose to play the blues, or is it a mix of genres?
I guess it's just something I fell into, really. Just from discovering like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix, and then sort of going back and listening to all the people that inspired, these blues rock guys that I'd started listening to, Gary Moore, Jeff Healey, I had music around the house all the time. My dad was a musician for a long time when he was younger, so it was always, I had, the music was in my blood, I guess, but he was not necessarily like a blues fan, so that's something I kind of found myself. Yeah.
I read somewhere that Gary Moore inspired you the most. Is that true, or?
Definitely one of the main ones. Yeah, I was a huge fan of his. I remember my mum asked my guitar teacher at the time when I was 12 or 13. My mum said to my guitar teacher, "Can you teach Ben Parisian Walkways?" And that was my first introduction to Gary's music. Mm-hmm. And then I was just a huge fan since then. I had a poster of him on my wall, and then to go on and get to know Gary and a little bit and play with him shortly before he passed away, and now I'm good friends with quite a lot of his family. I was even with his son 2 weeks ago. We were in Lithuania together.
His son?
Yeah, his son Jack Moore. We were playing together in who I hadn't seen since I was with Gary, a Jeff Beck birthday party randomly, but that was like 10 years ago. And I was there with Gary and Jack, his son. And I wasn't sure if Jack would remember me actually when I saw him a few weeks ago, but he just came straight over. He was like, "Hey Ben, great to see you." He's my age, so that was cool. We got to hang out a little bit, and he was there playing basically like a tribute to Gary Moore and featuring Jack Moore. And I just feel really humbled to be just in the company of and still in the company and still have the respect of anyone of the Moore family. Like his brother Cliff is still a friend of mine. We still stay in touch. We've played together a few times at the Gary Moore Memorial Tribute Festival in Budapest in Hungary. I played that a few years in a row just before COVID, and hopefully I'll be able to do it again as soon as they start running that festival again. So Gary's been a massive inspiration on me. I'm a huge fan of his playing. The Blues Alive album is one of my favourite albums of all time, the Live in Paris in 1991. So one of my favourite albums, one of my favourite guitar players, and then just to have had the opportunity to play with him, to learn a bit from him, and then to have been welcomed and accepted into the Moore family has just been one of the coolest things ever. Yeah.
Why did you find it necessary to go to the British and Irish Modern Music Institute in Brighton?
Well, I guess it was getting to that point where I was 18. I was just finished my A levels at school, and I kind of, you get to that point where you have to decide what am I going to do with my life, and music was starting to become a really important thing, in particular playing guitar, and I'd heard about there's just a few modern music schools in the UK, and I auditioned for a few of them and got accepted into all of them. But I chose Brighton mainly because just the place is cool. You know, you got a beach, it's by the sea, cool vibes, nice people, a very arty place, very culturally diverse and musically diverse and everything. There. Yeah, look, very a student city, so it's just a cool place. So that's why Brighton won with that, and I ended up going down and spending 3 years there, doing my degree, and I've been there ever since. I never left. I moved down there when I was 18, and I've been there ever since because I love it.
Has the lockdown helped you develop as an artist?
I'd say no. It was a setback, of course. Like, just not being able to play, and it's just kind of just put a halt on things, really. We I guess, as all musicians did, I guess we all tried to make the most of the time and try to write. But for me personally, it wasn't easy. A lack of inspiration. Stuck in the house so much and not traveling. So it was just a little. Yeah, just a little break.
How do you feel about Brexit? How has that affected you as an artist?
It's definitely made things a lot more difficult, for sure. Yeah, I mean, having to get a carnet for the van to travel. To be honest, it's a nightmare. And then not being able to spend more than 30 days, more than 3 months in every 6 months. I've got to be careful with watching my time outside of the UK now, and
tour itinerary.
Yeah, and adding up the dates to make sure I'm not out of the country too much, because I am away a hell of a lot, and now I just have to be really aware of it and not overstay coming into Europe. Because I do so much work out in Europe. It's a nightmare. It's one of the worst things I think that's happened, but that's just my opinion. As a musician that has relied on the freedom of movement for the last 10 years when I've been touring across Europe. So for me it's not been great.
You haven't played yet, but what do you think of what you've seen so far at the Open Air Blues Festival in Brezoi, Romania?
It's awesome. I mean, firstly, the organisation's been great. Everyone's really looked after us very well. Couldn't do enough for us. Secondly, the setting of this place is just incredible. Just standing in the middle and looking around and being surrounded by the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, are they big enough to be mountains? I guess so.
Yes.
Just a beautiful setting. Seems like it was busy last night as well. It's cool I'm glad we arrived yesterday to avoid any stress with flights all over the place at the moment, aren't they? So we arrived yesterday and got to hang out with, see a few friends like Papa Chubby, Ted's a friend of mine, so that was cool to see him, and then meet Eric Gales for the first time, and Samantha Fish for the first time. Both who I've known them for a long time, and I think that they've known him, they knew who I was as well, so it was cool to meet and hang out with them for a little bit, just say hello. Yeah, and like the lineup on this festival is probably one of the best I've seen for any festival in Europe. The lineup's amazing. Yeah. Really strong. Yeah.
Where are you off to next?
We're flying from Bucharest to Budapest tomorrow, because we've got 3 shows in Hungary, Veszprém, a festival I played last year as well. It's just outside Budapest, and we've got 3 shows tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and then we fly home, and then we've got a week off, and then we're going to Canada for the first time, which will be fun. Again, a lot of these festivals are ones that were supposed to happen in the last few years, and now everything's happened at the same time, so it's been manic.
Postponed because of COVID.
Yeah, because of COVID, and so now everything's happening this year and this summer, and it's just been mad. I haven't had a weekend off for a long time, and I've been in a different country every weekend. What it seems like the last 3 months or something. But it's great. That's how I like it. That's like how it used to be before COVID. I was just away all the time, and I love my job. So it's nice to get back to it.
That's great. Good luck with everything. Thank you for your time.
Thanks very much.
And we're waiting for you to come on down to the Open Air Blues Festival in Brezoi.